Hey, gorgeous. Welcome to Girl, You're a Goddess, the sacred space where we step into our feminine power, owning our worth, and creating a life that feels deliciously aligned. I'm Hilary Burton, a women's empowerment coach, therapist, and professional dominatrix. Think of me as your personal guide and hype woman on this journey to unleashing your deepest confidence, sensuality, and self love. If you're ready to heal, rise, and start living like the goddess you are, you're in the right place. So pour your tea or pop that bubbly and let's dive in. Okay. Welcome our gorgeous guest today. Chris Wasko is an energy healer, spiritual counselor, and psychic medium dedicated to guiding individuals through their healing and personal growth journeys. Specializing in trauma recovery, Chris helps old souls and survivors of narcissistic abuse heal not only on an emotional and spiritual level, but also on a nervous system level. By uncovering deep soul lessons, balancing energy, and restoring nervous system regulation, she supports clients in navigating life's challenges and reclaiming their true potential. Chris, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. I love what you are doing in the trauma realm and helping old souls heal because I really want to talk about the lifetimes, the old soul, the energetics with that. So, start off by telling us a little bit how you got into what you're doing, your personal journey of how you got here.
I feel like I stumbled into this, like really kind of landed flat on my face, to be perfectly honest. Like my background is in business. I was living what one might deem a very muggle life. And
So,
at one
dropping the Harry Potter reference. Love, 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 love.
because things changed and I didn't expect it. And if you would have told me this is what I was doing with my life, I don't know if I would have believed that.
Ah,
But I made a very, very difficult decision to cut off my extremely narcissistic parents.
mm,
And that decision led to an extraordinary journey. It was incredibly difficult
yeah.
and incredibly emotional. But the more I healed, the more I opened to my gifts.
Mhm,
Because what I had learned in my own journey is that my trauma muted all of my gifts,
mm.
or at least most of my gifts. I, of course,
Oh,
have inklings, looking back and seeing,
yeah,
okay, I see where I could have done that, or I see how that was trying to bring my attention to what I could do.
yeah.
But it really took healing to really just uncover it all.
Okay, I feel like that is so impactful. Your trauma muted your gifts.
Yeah.
And that's huge thinking back about, we're living the life we were meant to live, to learn the lessons, to be on this journey, but also having the self awareness to look back and think, okay, well, this could have been like this. And this is my gift now. And this is how powerful this is. And if I would have been able to work through that, this would have looked differently. And I feel like that's so
Yes.
valuable for listeners because knowing the power of healing and inner work and starting that early on, rather than the point of breaking down the huge, depths that we end up going through and the rock bottoms that we hit versus we can be proactive and we can work through these things now. Yeah. So, at what point did you decide that you needed to set more boundaries and kind of cut off that relationship with your parents? What did that look like?
Well, it was dramatic in the sense that I just said, enough, I'm done. I'm not doing
Yeah.
this anymore. Had I been better about boundaries earlier on,
Yeah.
I would have probably done it a lot sooner. I have a very volatile father. He had already hit one of my children, and that wasn't even my final, this is enough. I still
Wow.
gave them
Yeah.
another chance of, okay, we'll try and work through this. I was willing to forgive and move on. And it took another 8 years. And at that point, he threatened to hit my husband. And that was I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. My childhood was very violent and volatile. And now I felt like I was welcoming it into my adulthood to threaten my own family. And I, so like I said, it was just a little dramatic. I've just said, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. Whereas if I tried to create boundaries prior to, it probably wouldn't have worked because of the kind of narcissist my father is, and even my mother. They
Mhm.
don't respect boundaries. They don't acknowledge boundaries. You
Yeah.
do as they say and they do or else.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're aware that I'm away, but again, because there's a safety element, just
Mhm.
I had to say enough is enough.
Do you feel like some of the not respecting the boundaries and some of the this is just the way it is, do you feel like some of that is generational? Or do you feel like that's just there?
100%.
Okay. Okay. Because
Yes.
I
Yes. I mean, my parents are boomers,
yeah,
so, if we're getting into the generations, yeah, I mean, that is that generation,
yeah,
stereotypically, not every boomer is like that, but, it's just how they were, military background, and this is not to say everyone in the military is narcissistic. It's just, you have your standards, that you uphold and the way that you behave, and if you don't
yeah,
go along with the program, you're ousted in some way or punished.
yeah, yeah.
And that was very much my childhood, and it absolutely went on from generation to generation.
Yeah, no, and the way of life is to just fall in line, right? Fall in line, do what you're told. This is
Exactly.
how life is, and there's so much power, and I really respect you for being the change maker in that and breaking those cycles because it is taking so many of us right now to break those generational cycles of my parenting isn't going to look like this. My relationships aren't going to look like this. I don't need to
Yes.
tolerate a relationship with someone I'm told I have to love, with someone I'm told I have to allow to be in my life because that's just the way it is. That no, no, we
Yes.
are worthy of respect and honoring and valuing all of our relationships, whether it's our parents, whether it's our kids. Like we're worthy of that treatment, and we don't have to tolerate that from anyone. So
Absolutely.
I really respect what you did because that's a very difficult decision. And most of us, that's one of the hardest relationships we have to set boundaries with is our parents.
Yes, because we have adapted to, uh just energetically, we are adapted to a personality, to a structure, to a system. And to make that change, you are changing everything within yourself because your nervous system is hardwired to behave in a certain manner, especially when it comes to your parents, good or bad. It's just how you have adjusted to your environment.
Yeah, and I mean, it was survival, right? We adjusted in that way to survive in the safest, easiest way that we could. Wow.
Exactly.
So, talk to us a little bit about how you felt afterwards, because we're talking about the energy change that happens, the nervous system change. How do you feel now that you have been able to cut off that relationship and set those boundaries?
Now it's incredible. At first, it was very scary, because my nervous system was still in fight, flight, and
Yeah.
still in that adaptation style. But the more I healed, it's just been incredible. I've brought so much peace to my life. There's so much love. There's so much joy, and my only regret is not cutting them off sooner. That
Mm,
really is it. When I look back, what could I have done differently? And what I could have done differently is cut them off when my father hit my first child. That
mm,
should have been
yeah.
my enough, but I was so programmed to go along with them and to believe I somehow had misbehaved and it was somehow my fault. And
Yeah.
so that is, like I said, that's my only regret. But the peace I have is worth everything
Oh,
to, I
mm,
don't miss that. I miss the version of them that I deserved, and I
yeah.
didn't get that. And I recognize I deserve better, as do my children, as does my husband. So it's just been an incredible journey of healing, and I'm really grateful to be where I'm at because this level of peace didn't come by easily on
Yeah.
this journey, but it was so worth it. And I would do it again to know that, oh wow, I could be this peaceful in life.
Mm.
Yes, thank you. I will take it.
Oh my gosh. The self-love and the self-worth you gained by cutting off that relationship and setting those boundaries. Because even
So
just hearing you talk
valuable.
about it, I don't miss them. I miss the parents that I deserved. And knowing your worth now and how valuable you are and how much you deserve that love and the respect and the treatment. Oh my gosh. I feel like that impacted your life in so many other ways than I feel like you even realized at the time, right? At that point, it was more of, I need to protect my family, my kids, and myself.
Yes.
I'm speaking for you, but that's kind of
No,
what I
you're
would do.
right, you're right, and I appreciate you saying it because it's just, you know, it continues to validate my choices and my
Yeah,
journey, but yeah, it changed my life, and it changed my
yeah.
life for the better. My life was already pretty good, so this is not to say that I
Mm,
wasn't having a good life,
yeah.
but I recognized that there were so many limitations, set up around me that I didn't recognize until I made that choice, and I just expanded myself in so many ways.
Mm. That's impactful too, because I feel like so many of us are living a good life. We're moderately happy. Things are okay. There's nothing really, really wrong. So, what do I have to complain about? Why do I need to
Yeah.
change this? I don't want to disturb what I do. I don't want to disturb the peace, even though it's not peaceful. But we think that we have this life set up to where we can't rock the boat. And I love how you said that because you were happy. You did have a good life, but now it has expanded it beyond what you thought it could be. And so
Exactly.
that's huge because we all get stuck in the
It's
my life's good. I don't
yeah,
really need to change any of this. And we get comfortable, right? Because that comfort is safety. And it's like, well, this feels okay. But to know that you can expand beyond, like we don't even conceptualize how incredible our lives can be. So
we
oh
don't. We
yeah,
don't. It's
yeah,
and how we limit ourselves in that way, and I understand it, and it's part of the journey, but when we get beyond it, man, it's so incredible. It's just
yeah.
incredible. It's hard to put words to it.
Mm. I feel like that's part of your work with old souls as well too. So
Yes.
tell us a little bit about that specifically. Um, what do you mean by working with old souls, and what does that look like?
When I first started doing this work, I was working a lot with children, and what I was finding is those children were old souls. They were the oldest soul in their family group, and
Wow.
they're often deemed as the difficult ones, the challenging ones, but ultimately, they're the change makers, they're the cycle breakers. So is every old soul going to be a cycle breaker and walk that
Yeah.
path? Not necessarily, it's a choice. But so many are doing it now, and so many are evolving and getting out of this generational pattern. Anytime I was connecting with an old soul, I recognized there was a narcissist somewhere in the picture, usually within the family. And
Mm,
anytime I was dealing with someone that had
yes.
experienced narcissistic abuse, I knew there was an old soul. If it wasn't that exact client, they
Mm,
probably had a child that was an old soul, or there was an old soul somewhere. So I kept finding this link the more I was working with people,
oh my god.
and I just recognized that that's a big part of this journey. You know, old souls have been doing this a very long time, but
Mhm.
this lifetime, so many have chosen to break this cycle and to change and to evolve. And as so many of us are shifting
Yes.
now in so many different ways, you know, a lot knowing shifting from
Yeah.
3D to 5D even, in order to do that, we have to shed a lot of these layers of trauma that we've carried for so many lifetimes. And one of the main things is breaking this pattern.
Ah, as you were talking about that, my body lit up with goosebumps, and I was like, okay, noted, noted.
Like, yep,
Trust
I
me.
remember signing up for that. Yes, at
Trust
least on
me,
a
I
soul level.
know. Yes, interesting too, because yeah, I believe my father is a narcissist, and you know, I was an easier kid in my teenage years, but I was a difficult child, and I knew how I wanted things, and I knew the way I wanted it to be, and like, it's like, where did that come from? You know? So I definitely resonate with that. And that's so fascinating, the connection between the old soul and the narcissist and breaking those patterns. I feel like so many of us were sent here right now to break those cycles and make those
Yes.
changes. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, the narcissist relationship is often connected to when people talk about the empath and the narcissist, but
Oh,
every empath is an old soul. Not every old soul is an empath, but anytime people say
okay.
that, I always want to be like, okay, there's a deeper layer there. Let's get to
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
And that's really ultimately what it is. So when people are like, why is there's always this attraction? Why do they tend to find each other? It's
Mhm.
because a cycle is meant to be broken.
Okay. Can you go into depth with that a little more? So, like, how does the empath relate to the narcissist, and how are they kind of like challenging each other? What's the tension there?
Well, it's more about the aspect that it's an old soul,
Yeah.
because The empath is definitely more sensitive and is feeling stuff. And then there's layers to being an empath.
Yeah.
Like some people are very empathic in nature, but don't necessarily take on the behaviors or the feelings and emotions in the same way. So I do believe there's a variance in how someone ranges as an empath. There are ones that are carrying so much and ones that are maybe carrying less. I'll just say that it's like a sliding scale.
Yeah.
But they have the ability to read the energy. They have the ability to feel it.
Mm,
But it also, especially if they're being raised by one, it is starting to train them even more in this empathetic nature to really feel stuff, to anticipate stuff. So it's actually developing their psychic abilities in this lifetime.
wow.
And we don't always know that. We just think, oh my gosh, I'm just very intuitive because I always had to anticipate how my father or my mother was going to react. Well, guess what? That was honing your abilities
Yes.
through trauma, unfortunately.
Right.
But we do sign up for the difficult lessons. Old souls sign up for difficult lessons because we've done the easy. So when they're like, I
Mm,
don't know why I did this to myself,
yeah.
it's because we've done the easy stuff. And it's not masochistic. It just kind of feels it, I think, as a human. But once we kind of start to really see the whys or at least make sense of it to a certain degree,
Mhm.
then it's like, okay, recognize this now and here's what I'm going to do with it because
Mm,
there
yeah.
is purpose here. And it's but it always comes down to choice because we are all given the gift of free will.
Mm. Yes. Okay. So many things there. I have wondered that. I'm like, why did I choose this so difficult for myself?
Mhm. Yeah, I'll say like, what in the soul contract is this?
I love that. I'm gonna start using that. What in the soul contract is this? What is happening here? So true though. So true. Yes. And when you're talking about the sliding scale of empaths, I never considered myself an empath until recently because I am so in tune with people's emotions and the energy. And I actually just got a birth chart reading and I'm double Scorpio. So Scorpio
Same.
sun and Scorpio rising, and then I'm an Aquarius moon. So
Oh yeah.
I
That,
think
that
the
that's a lot of
Aquarius
intense
helps
feeling.
me detach a little bit from like the deep, deep dive of the Scorpio emotions because I can go through the depths of the ocean of my emotions, right?
Yes.
But I think the air sign there helps me just kind of, that's not for me. Step back a little bit.
Calms it a little bit, a little calmer.
Yeah, yeah, it's a little bit of a buffer.
Yes.
So
Buffer's the word. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, but it was really interesting because I was like, I feel everyone's emotions so deeply, but that doesn't mean that I get attached to them and I'm able to separate myself from those emotions. So that is interesting because I didn't really consider myself an empath, but also you mentioned the sliding scale and I'm like, okay, I feel like I could fit into that, you know? So it's fascinating. Yeah. Yeah.
And I also feel it helps validate there are empaths that can take on so much
Mhm.
that they, I think, can feel a little insulted if ones that don't take on as much are calling themselves empaths,
Yes.
right? Because
Yes.
it's like, well, you don't have to take on the burden I have to take on. And I know that could be a heavy weight for some. So that's why I like to recognize that there is that sliding scale. It doesn't mean that every single person that believes they are empath necessarily is, but it doesn't mean that
Yes.
they don't have empathetic ability to
Yes.
really read emotion, read feelings, and to feel it on some level.
Okay. So now I want to ask you, how do you recognize an empath? Like, what are some normal signs in their life that you would see?
They tend to be, more closed off.
Okay.
They're so introverted in
Yeah.
nature.
Yeah.
They can have an ambivert nature. So, for those that don't understand what an ambivert is, it's someone that has an introverted nature, but they're very outgoing with people they feel very energetically aligned to. So it makes them seem a bit of an extrovert. So yeah, I also identify as an ambivert. And I think that's
Oh.
also an old quality. And again, every empath is an old soul. So it's a very old soul empathic quality
Okay.
that, I rather be introverted because really what you're doing is you're protecting your energy. But then
Right.
when you're around people that are energetically aligned, you don't feel that need for protection because it feels
Yes.
safe and you're just like, yay, these are my people. This is my tribe. Woo,"
Yes.
you know, and
Ah.
that's just a better connection. But As far as just the kinds of traits, I would say seeing that closed off nature tends to be a big one just because it's a protective element.
Yeah.
Highly intuitive and usually very intuitive from the start. So very intuitive children, ability to read people, to read the energy of a room.
Yeah.
But there are also aspects that can be muted depending on the layers of trauma that soul has to take on in this lifetime because the
Yeah.
older we get, the more trauma levels that just come on because of life. That's why children, generally speaking, from an energy standpoint, are much easier to read because they don't have all the layers on them like adults do.
Wow. That's so true. Yeah. I mean, I've worked in pediatrics for 10 years, and that is so true, and easy to read, and you don't feel like you need to, like, shield and protect yourself as much, right? It doesn't feel like there's mm, I don't even know how to say it. Like, it doesn't feel like there's as much, not negativity, but different kinds of intentions coming at you, right? I mean, I don't know. That's
Yes, there's a
yeah.
pureness to children
Yes.
depending on where they're at because, their
Yeah.
brain waves are still
Mm,
in, mostly alpha, sometimes theta,
yeah.
in a more consistent basis, unlike, it's really until they get to, like, ranging from 8 to 12 of when that
Mm,
shifts more to that constant beta. So the
yeah.
constant beta is that very busy, active mind.
Okay.
So they're less connected to spirit unless they're very tapped in, locked in, like, they're an indigo, a rainbow, a crystal child, and you just feel that in their energy. So, yeah, and always life circumstances. Life
Yes.
circumstances
Yeah.
are matter for everybody,
Yeah.
children and otherwise.
What in the soul contract is this?
Exactly. Yep.
So, in your work, who do you typically work with? Like, who do you help specifically?
I help people that feel drawn to me. I say that because
Ah,
lately I've had a lot of people finding me because I read chakras. I do chakra reads,
ooh,
and people have watched me do this,
okay.
and they're like, "I want you to do that for
Mhm,
me too."
mhm.
So that has been a very, I would say, within the last year, most of the people that are finding me like, "Can you do an energy read for me? Can you read my chakras?"
Ooh, yes.
So other people that tend to find me are people that are struggling with their children, because they believe their children is an old soul or they are married to a narcissist.
Okay,
And then just people that have really struggled with narcissistic abuse
okay.
because that's a path. And when you've walked the path, you kind of know, okay, these are the things
Yeah,
you could do to help yourself
yes.
because these are kind of difficult situations just from an energy standpoint alone to really work through those layers of trauma. How can I help myself feel strong enough to work through this is, it's a pretty bold step and, helping people through that.
I love that you tie in the energetics of it. The energetics combined with the therapy of that, because there was so much more to it than just, like, the talk therapy, or, let's give you some tools in your life. Like, I love that you get into the energetics. I feel like that's so important. And, shoot, there was something I was gonna say about that. I lost my train of thought.
That's okay. Well, I appreciate you saying it though, because it's just, the body tells the story. So I love talk therapy. I'm an advocate for
Yes,
it.
yes,
But I also, when people are talking to me, I'll like parts of their body will literally start
yes.
talking to me as well. Like, oh, I feel that in your heart chakra. I feel this also in your
Mm,
sacral chakra. This is block this, and this is why. And,
yeah.
so the body tells a story, and it's a very powerful tool.
Yes, and that's what that you brought that back, because that's what I was gonna mention was the chakra readings. Do you do that, is it only in person, or do you do that virtually as well? Like, how does that come across for you?
Most of my clients are actually virtual. I do have people come to my office, but the beauty of online now, thanks
Yeah.
to Zoom and the
Yes.
like. But yeah, because energy could be read anywhere.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't even have to meet the person. I could just know their name,
Yeah.
and and of course have their blessing. I don't
Yes.
tap into
Yes.
people in a way where they wouldn't open their energy to me. I don't find that morally
Yeah.
correct.
Yeah.
But energy is very powerful, and, yeah,
Yes.
I like to do that for anyone who needs it and wants it.
Yes, it is. That's such a gift too. And I feel like you have to be also very, very intuitive and energetically aligned to be able to do that and recognize that and provide that for people. So I love that. Okay.
Yeah, it came through time. You know, when I started doing a lot of the like opening up to spirit, it started with mediumship. I was seeing dead people and I was shocked by it.
Mm. Yeah.
So as I started doing the work more, I recognized most of the people that were finding me were either an old soul or someone that dealt with narcissistic abuse. So I
Mm.
kind of gradually got away from mediumship, because I guess I just prefer working with the living, to be totally honest, and, yeah, it just evolved into, "Oh, I could read your body. I could literally climb into your chakra system and see what's going on." It's like I swim in
Yes.
there. It's
Yes.
kinda fun.
Okay. That girl, we're on the same path because I wanted to ask you about your journey through mediumship and how that started and yeah, literally how that transitioned into what you're doing now. So you were literally seeing dead people's spirits. What was when was that happening for you in just in your daily personal life?
Yeah, so I would say maybe about a year or 2 after I cut off my parents, I was just on this incredible healing journey. I was
Yeah.
calming my nervous system. I was my diet changed significantly. I healed my autoimmune thyroid condition.
Oh
You
my
know, so the
gosh.
more was healing, the more you know, it was shifting my energy and it was, you know, and really just because now I've done this for so long and the more I've helped people, I recognize calming the nervous system helps you connect to spirit. So if
Mm.
someone doesn't, they're psychic or intuitive, they're probably just not have, they probably have a slight dysregulation in their nervous system. And
Mm.
when you start to regulate that and calm that, you open up more, so you become more in tune to
Yes.
really everything you want to. It's
Hmm.
just a matter of, are you open and do you have, you know, the faith for that journey? Because it can kind of blow your mind. Like I would be having a conversation with someone as you and I are speaking right now, and I would see in my mind's eye someone behind them, and pretty clearly too. So at first, I didn't know what to do with it because I didn't know how they communicated. They
Yeah.
don't have a body anymore, so they don't communicate like we do, it's all telepathic,
Okay.
I wasn't very in tune to that, so
Yeah.
I started taking classes to understand how that works, and
Wow.
now I actually teach classes to people because the I started having people asking me like, oh, you know, they'd be like, "I'm seeing dead people now, can you help me with this?" Or, "I feel like I can read the energy of a room, can you help me with
Yeah.
this?" So it, you know, my journey has evolved on so many levels, so yeah, I teach,
Yeah.
like, development classes as well because
Okay.
I said, "All right, well, I'm not gonna let you go and figure this out on your own," because that's what I had to do, and I felt like so lost. I mean, it was fun in some ways, but it would have been
Yeah.
nice to have like a
Yes, and to have some community and validation in that and like this is real what you're experiencing is real and there's a purpose to it and it's not something that you need to fix or it's not something really taboo.
yeah,
There's not something wrong with you, you know? I feel like that could be
yes.
very isolating and I personally know several people who have those experiences and they're very uncomfortable sharing it. They don't want people to know that they can see these things and sense these things because they feel like they're going to look crazy, you know? And
Oh,
that's
yeah, it is you could feel crazy. I did. I
it's
was like, "I
true.
must be losing my mind." I really
Ah,
thought I was losing it because, but then it kept happening and it kept happening, and you know, I was letting some people in, you know, trusted people as far as like the living in my life.
yeah.
And just things just kept happening where uh, I guess this always sounds weird to say, but things I would have said were later proven right, you know,
Mm,
and like,
mhm.
so I was guiding people and I was helping people and recognizing, you know, I had more other people saying to me like, "You, this is really a gift, Chris. You got to do something with this."
Yeah.
And I just continued on that path. I had no idea what it was gonna look like. Like I said in the beginning, I pretty much fell right into this flat on my
Yeah.
face
Yeah.
and then got kinda dragged through it for a bit until I was able to be like, "Okay, I see where I have value here and where I could
Mhm.
help and I where I could be of service."
Yeah. Yeah. Finances, business to mediumship to coaching and healing and spiritual guide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, talk about it. What in the soul contract was that? Because man, that could have been extensive. Like, what did I do there? But I get it. I get it. It makes sense now in hindsight, but
Yes.
going through it, it was, yeah, I definitely felt, um, yeah, challenged on many levels, but I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
It really was a good part of this journey, even though it was challenging. And I understand I needed to go through that in
Definitely.
order to help others because the people that find me, I recognize their story and mine.
Yes. Yes. We are most equipped to help the people that we used to be.
Yeah,
100%.
exactly.
And that is why there are so many coaches and so many therapists and so many spiritual healers, but we need everyone because people are drawn to each of us for different reasons.
Exactly.
And our experience connects to their life path in a different way. And it's all very, very valuable. So there's space for all of us. We're all needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we are community. We are not competition.
Yes,
When
exactly.
we align in that way, we do so much more for ourselves and for each other as a collective.
Yes. Yes. And that's why we're here to elevate the collective and
Exactly.
specifically for me helping women awaken their feminine. So
And man, is that needed right now on so many levels, as so many of us have had to be so in our dominant. So how beautiful that you're doing that work and how important it is. Like really, I say thank you as a woman and for women and for those that even that are not women, but really need to connect to their feminine.
yeah. 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 Just like with our intuition and all of the gifts that we have. Our feminine has been so suppressed and we've been so disconnected from it. And I feel like that's another aspect of it too, though. When we are able to regulate our nervous system and tap into our feminine energy, that's when we do feel more connected to spirit. We do start to be able to tap into those gifts.
Yes, because the feminine is softer and calmer and aligns us in the way we need to in order to connect and
Yeah.
evolve. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's a very important part of the journey.
And our feminine is not so rooted in the logic and structure and only the things that we can see, right? It's more free and flowing, and we can tap into those
Yes.
things that aren't so logical and be safe in that. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of unseen in the feminine, which is amazing and incredible and it's so empowering. It really when you
Mhm.
really tap into it, it's it really is like a phoenix just coming out of
Mhm.
the ashes. It's
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes. When okay, so you said that you were in your masculine energy for a while too. So when do you feel like you started tapping more into your feminine, and what did that look like for you?
Such a good question because I think it's going to be a journey of that for a while because I
Yeah.
still have the back and forth. But I see it now, which is nice.
Mhm.
Because I was raised to be like a male.
Same.
I wouldn't have called myself a tomboy, but I had a
Mhm.
very dominant type of upbringing, and I had to be strong. I had to be a warrior. So it was really finding my recognizing my warrior was more of a huntress was
Yes.
very helpful in tapping into that feminine element that I didn't have to look at my warrior as weak in order to accept the feminine aspects of her. I could also see her as strong. Really clearing my sacral chakra was very important because that's where
Mm.
like goddess energy lies. So
Mhm.
when you're
It
really
does.
tapping in, connecting to the goddess, you need to connect to the sacral.
Yes.
My sacral was a mess. Uh, I didn't know it at the time, but had
Yeah.
I been reading chakras and could have climbed into my own then, I would have been like, "Oh my gosh, we gotta clear out cobwebs, Chris. This is a mess. What did you do?" Uh,
Yes.
but so yeah, now it's if I find myself more in my dominant because that's kind of I run a business, I'm in beta a lot, and
Yeah.
when I recognize it, I'm like, okay, I will connect to the sacral and I'll find my goddess. And if she is in a more dominant, I'm gonna be looking for my huntress version, not my flowy goddess version.
I love that. I love that because when we do talk about feminine, it always comes across that it's very flowing and we're fairies in a field and we don't have responsibilities and it's it's a balance. And when we think about the goddess energy, like they were warriors. They were warriors
Yes.
upholding expectations and boundaries, and you will serve me in this way, you will treat me in this way, you will honor me, you will revere me. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, la di da, you know?
Mhm.
So I feel like that's very important to mention because our goddess energy is warrior energy. And we don't have to tie being strong, being a warrior to the masculine. We can, but it doesn't have to be. That can come from our sacral, our goddess energy too. So I love that. Yeah, I love tapping into like Athena energy and Lilith energy because like that's badass. Let's go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, and it's part of healing too. Really, when we connect to those all those energies, there's so many types and archetypes of goddess energy, and
Yes.
it's finding where we align.
Hmm.
And when we do that, and we'll align differently at different times
Yeah.
and for
Yeah.
different reasons. But when we see where we're at and how we're aligning, like you say, Athena and Lilith, like those are great examples. Like Athena, if you're more aligned to her, there's going to be a lot of wisdom connected to you.
Hmm. Hmm.
There might be a fight connected there.
Yeah.
Lilith, there might be, some aspect of death and rebirth, and there's just or darkness, shadow work.
Girl, my life is
So
Lilith
it's
energy.
yeah, it's and but how beautiful. Well, of course, the Scorpio. There's a lot of Lilith and Scorpio, and but when we really find, like, I always recommend to, especially women, study the goddesses, see who you
Mhm.
align with, who you connect with, and see also how you have felt aligned to different ones along your path, because
Yeah.
there's always going to be different aspects, because we're forever changing and evolving. And it's so empowering because we can really recognize how those goddesses have walked with us on this journey, and
Yes.
now we can really connect with them
Yes.
and really just embody their essence and what that is for us, in us, to help us heal and evolve. It's
Uh,
beautiful, it's incredible.
yes. Okay. That was such a gift because I didn't know that. I didn't know you did work with the goddesses and goddess energy. We didn't talk about that before. So, I'm so excited. That was
No,
beautiful.
I guess we didn't. I
No?
now that you say it, I'm like, gosh, I guess I didn't. I think I was just so excited to connect with you. We had such a good
Yes.
connection.
Yes.
But
Okay.
yeah, I
So,
do I do tap into a lot of the goddess stuff, because I can oh, can I actually share? This was incredible.
please do.
I had a client that, just working through a lot of her shedding stuff. And she had connected a lot to warrior energy,
Okay.
because she has a lot of warrior energy, but we weren't yet connecting it to goddess energy. We're really working through some other layers of trauma. And on a session more recently, like I walked her through helping her really kind of connect to a different version of her. And, I'm not going to get into all the details of that,
Yeah.
but all of a sudden, like we're walking her through, and the both of us she's highly intuitive, I should
Mm.
say that. And she's seeing herself with a bow and arrow.
Mm.
And then as I'm tapping into this, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is Artemis."
Okay.
And I said, "Keep going." And, she's finding stuff, because I didn't say it right away, but then she was
Yeah.
finding all these things connected to Artemis. And so
Wow.
finally I said, "Do you recognize you are connected to Artemis?" And she was like, "Oh my gosh." And for the next, like, week or 2, she had this, like, unfolding of so many things, of how
Mm.
it was just this shedding of layers, and
Yes.
really coming into, like, connecting with huntress energy was so incredibly powerful for me. But it sometimes that's all it is like just this acknowledgement and this awareness, and then she was
Yes.
embodying it more. It was already there. It
Ah,
was already in her, but
yes.
we were able to connect it, and it really shifted something so deeply.
Yeah.
And it's been beautiful to watch. I mean, I just help bring the attention to it,
Yeah.
but now just having that awareness and just seeing her and how she's just been transforming has been nothing short of incredible.
Uh, that's incredible. And like, it was already a part of her. It was already there. It's just opening up to that and aligning with that and um accepting it, right? Accepting it for like the
Yes.
beauty it brings and not the I don't like this part of me. I don't want to be that way. It's really embodying that. Oh my gosh. And when you were talking about that, what resonated was I feel like that's kind of what I do as a dom too, because I embody all of
Mm.
these different energies, and it's the queen, it's the mother, it's the goddess, it's all of these things, but I feel like I am channeling all of these different goddess energies at that time. And so it's being able to tap into, right? Like one time it's Athena and I'm very strict and authoritarian, and the next time it's, I don't know. Um who am I
Maybe
thinking?
like Kuan Yin, where it's gonna be more of, tactile and touching
Yes.
and, it's
Yes.
gonna be a
Uh-huh.
little more nurturing and
Yes.
yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then, I've really been tapping into, like, Egyptian energy lately too.
Mhm. Isis.
So
Yep.
yes, yes. And so being able to pull all of those in though and seeing where that energy comes in and kind of melding them together because they're parts of us. And I like how you said tapping into different goddesses during our journey because we are always evolving and we're always at different stages. And so it's not that you can only think about one goddess for the rest of your life and that's the only energy you can try to, bring in. But it's
It's
evolving
true.
through all of those. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, because some goddesses, when you just look at the different archetypes, I mean, there's so many, but just generally speaking,
Yeah.
there's softer elements and there's stronger elements, and then there's light elements and there's shadow elements. So when we're
Yes.
able to recognize them in the goddesses and then within ourselves, I think it's just such a pivotal part of our healing. It
Yes,
does so
yes.
much for us. And then when we embody it, it's like it's so powerful. It's
It is.
incredibly powerful.
It is.
Really makes us connect to like, okay, I know why I chose to be a woman in this
Yeah,
lifetime. And
yeah.
it's powerful because I've had a lot of lifetimes as a man. I know it. I'm more so than being a woman, but choosing to be a woman in this lifetime, I'm like, okay, I get this. I understand this and I'm owning it.
Yes. Oh, that's powerful. I also think that I've had many lifetimes as a man, and I was like, "You know what? I
Yeah,
was
I
one
agree with
hell
you.
of a man." Like, I was one hell of a warrior.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. A leader.
Even
And
as a
yeah,
woman, I'm like, I could teach a lot of these men a thing or 2 about
yeah.
being a
Well,
man, and I'm
because
like,
I
"Where
mean,
does
our
that?"
men have been softened so much. I mean, there's
Mhm.
been,
Yeah.
a bit of an agenda to soften men
Yes.
because when you
Yes.
soften men, then it makes for a weaker society. Our men need to
Mhm.
be strong, and so
Yes.
the stronger we are as women, it is also up to us to help strengthen our men.
Yes.
This
I
doesn't
agree
even
with that.
have to be romantically, but just to
Mhm.
men physically built
Mhm.
for fighting for battles. So they need
Yes.
to be strong.
Yes.
As strong as any woman can be, there is this physical element that, um, you know,
Yeah.
more so the men are going to be upholding that strength.
Mhm.
And the more we support that and put that into
Yeah.
this and feed them with that, on a nurturing basis, not that this
Yes.
toxic crap that we're seeing on
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
many levels. But again, part of the agenda. I
Uh-huh.
could soapbox on that all day, but we won't. But
That's
a
yeah, we
part
could
of
have a
being a
whole episode
strong
on that.
woman is not about ostracizing men.
Mhm.
It's about embodying them as well and giving them strength as well.
Mhm. Yes. I am so on board with that, and the masculine's role is to provide, protect, and serve, right? And they're here to hold that strength and that safe space for us so that we can
Mhm.
feel safe in embodying our feminine. And that's not to say that the
Yes,
feminine isn't strong, but it's a different way of being. And because
exactly. You're nourishing and nurturing,
yes,
and there's strength and beauty in that.
yes. And because the men are not holding that strength and the safe space for us, then now we're forced to do it. So now we're not tapping into our
Exactly.
feminine. Now we're not in the abundance. Now we're disconnected from spirit, our goddesses, all of that. So yes, no, it's very
Yep.
backwards, and it is part of the agenda. Um, and it's interesting because of what I do as a dom, submission so often is seen as weakness and that men can't be vulnerable and they can't be open. But I'm also trying to shed light on the strength in that, the strength in being able to set aside your ego, the strength in being able
Yes.
to trust a woman to open up to the feminine, to honor the feminine. And there's so much value in that. So we're helping both men and
Yes, I
both.
love that because and it's also part of finding that balance in that when a
Mhm.
man can learn to be submissive, he's allowing to find that side of him to allow for the balance within. And when we all
Yes.
find that balance within, the yin and the yang, the balance of chi, however you want to look at it, we create a stronger self
Yes.
and also a stronger collective.
Yes, and being able to let go of, like, the white knuckle grit that, a lot of men, women too, that we're holding on everything and knowing that we're creating our own reality with that and not being so stuck in it has to look like this, it has to be this is my experience. So just opening your mind to what could be possible and letting go of some of that extreme structure. Yeah.
It's very freeing when you can have an open mind. It
Mm,
also means you have an open heart, and it's more
yes,
freeing from an energetic standpoint, and it opens you up to more blessings, in my opinion.
it does. It does. Oh my gosh. I love this conversation. I love that we tapped into the goddesses. Yay.
Me too. This is great.
Okay. Final question for you. What advice would you give to our listeners who are just starting out on their healing journey, their inner work journey? What tools or resources would you recommend for them? Maybe they have someone narcissistic in their life. Where would you tell them to start?
So, if you're really working on narcissism, and I think most people do this, start studying it, because when you start to study it, you understand what has happened. Because many people who have dealt with narcissists start
Yeah.
to recognize they all seem to share the same playbook and have similar behaviors,
And just
and even down to the verbiage they use. So, find just educating yourself, which is pretty easy
mm,
to find resources now on narcissism, narcissistic abuse, covert narcissism, overt narcissism, the fact that it's a spectrum, and the fact that we're all on it, because it's a matter of recognizing where the narcissism is within us and does it rule us. So, anyone that could be self reflective in themselves, they're not a narcissist. But it doesn't mean that you don't have elements of it. Like, I'm the first to
mm,
say, I was raised by two narcissists. There's no way I was not going to have elements of it within myself. It
mhm,
was in my entire life. So, I had to
yeah.
look at that, and I had to really unpack that. So, the other aspect I would say in guiding people is also recognizing that when we're changing and we're evolving and we're shifting, our energy is doing so with us. So, if we're trying to heal too fast, and
Mm,
I, again, be the first to say, I wanted to heal yesterday, I wanted to feel better, I didn't want to hurt,
yeah.
but the energy needs to go gradually. So, taking those baby steps through
Mhm,
your healing journey really supports you better and doesn't put you in like an energetic shock,
yeah.
which can put you into bouts of like depression or anxiety. So just
Mhm.
recognize those baby steps on the journey is very supportive.
I feel like, yeah, that's very important. Recognizing your energy levels and the toll it takes and doing that gradually rather than trying to say, well, I'm going to heal all this tomorrow. And it's draining, right? That can take a lot. So, yes, I feel like,
It is wrong. Yes.
yeah, yeah, I love that. Okay. And one final question I have for you. Who is the goddess you're connecting with the most right now? Or
The
goddesses?
goddess I have connected to most, I would say I've been lately it's been more Lilith, just because I have been doing more shadow work.
Yeah.
And I feel she is the best for shadow work, at least for
Hmm.
me.
Yeah.
Kali is also really good for shadow
Mhm.
work.
Yes.
But I feel she's earlier shadow work when you're like starting to really like get your face shoved in the dirt. Whereas Lilith is more you've just been buried.
Yeah.
But that's been my late and but they're all amazing. I love probably one of my favorites is Artemis. She's a great one, and
Yeah.
Isis. I
Mhm.
have a lot of Egyptian kind of energy that's connected me to past lifetimes.
Yes. Oh,
You know, and then there's softer elements. I'm just climbing into all the goddesses now, but there's
yeah.
just softer elements like Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary. You know, these are other goddess energies that we could tap into for these softer, evolving elements of us. You know, Mother Mary is great for grief. When you're really in like the grief and the sorrow, she's a wonderful one to connect to. Like not getting into the religious aspects, but getting into
Yes.
the goddess aspects of who these
Yeah.
are.
I'm reading that book right now, the Mary Magdalene book. I just
Oh,
started it.
good.
So
Are you
yes,
loving it?
yes, I just started it. I love it so far. Yeah. And then I just finished When God Was a Woman too.
I
Oh,
haven't read
girl.
that one. I haven't read
Oh,
I
girl.
love when people connect with Mary Magdalene because she's kind of, I don't know, given a really poor rap.
Mhm.
So when past that and really see more, um,
Yes.
And there's always a reason why we connect to her, right?
Mhm.
Probably because in our own lives, we've been given a bad rap,
Yep.
and people don't truly see us for who we are, so she's an
Yes.
incredible one to connect to for that reason.
Yes. I love that. And I feel like her story is also very similar to Lilith's, right? She's given this horrible,
Yes.
horrible rap,
Mhm.
horrible story. And like, she just chose independence and freedom and decided she wasn't going to.
Exactly.
So
She
she's
knew
like,
who
no,
she was. Yeah,
yeah, she's,
not for me.
I'm going to go do my own thing. That's not for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Good for her. And then meanwhile, we're here like, "You go.
Yes.
You do you."
I know. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of your beautiful insight today and your knowledge and what you are doing for Old Souls. Healing this generational trauma and breaking these cycles is absolutely incredible. So thank you,
Thank
Chris,
you.
for joining us. Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. This has been a lot of fun. I appreciate you.
Yay. I appreciate you too and your goddess energy.
Likewise.
Go ahead and tell our listeners how they can find you.
Easiest way to find me is my website because it's my name, chriswasko.com.
Perfect. Okay. And then we'll have that in the show notes. And as always, for the listeners, if you like this show, if you receive value from it, please share with any other women in your life, also men, but any women in your life, as that is the best way for us to help elevate the collective. So thank you so much for joining us, and I will see you all next week.